Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video of the play-by-play with me, your host, Matt Severino. I am very happy to have you guys back. We are doing another video in my power ranking series in sort of an attempt to make the videos a little shorter, a little more palatable, and just a little more interesting. I'm changing things up a bit, shortening everything. And I did a top 10 of who I think is the top 10, from after week 3. And now I'm going to rank the teams from number 11 to number 32. Again, I'm going to keep it quick. I'm really just going to talk about what's changed since last week, how teams did. There's a lot of different factors that play into this. It takes a lot of, I put a lot of factors into who lands where, and it just takes a while to really go too in depth. So I'm just going to cover the most important factors of what's changed and what went on in week 2 of NFL football. So moving right along, at number 11, we have the New Orleans Saints. Now the New Orleans Saints have been grinding. They have. Since week 1, they've just slowly been moving up the list. I felt very good about this team coming into the year, but again, I really think they need to prove themselves against the top dog. They did well against the Bucs this week. They didn't really lose grasp of this game until Marshawn Lattimore got kicked out of that game. Mike Evans, Marshawn Lattimore, two of the best players in the league. At the end of the day, it's very obvious that Marshawn Lattimore means more to the Saints team than he does to that, than Mike Evans does to the Bucs. Having him suspended hurts a lot, so that does not help their ranking. But still, the fact that they played against the number 4 team and kept them off the board until Marshawn Lattimore got kicked out of the game. The fact that it was such a good game, even though it ended up finishing in 2-score game. The Saints prove their worth this week. We see what the Bills did to the Rams. The Rams are supposed to be a good team. The Rams are ranked above the Saints right now. The Bucs couldn't do something like that to the Saints. That's all I got to say. We saw what the Bucs did to the Cowboys. The Cowboys have a top-tier defense in this league. And the Bucs still got away with 19. But look what they did to that Cowboys offense. And the Cowboys offense looked pretty good against the Bengals this week. So, Saints are a good team. It was just shame to see them lose. If they would have won, they would have moved right up into that top 10. But as for now, they are sitting at number 11, and they have moved up 2 spots up to number 13, from number 13 to number 11. Moving along, we have the Detroit Lions at number 12. Now, I gotta admit here, the Eagles moving up to number 5 for me. Little spoiler for the other video. Helped these guys out big time. They beat their defense. It needs maybe a little bit of a kick in the, in the caboose, for lack of a better word. Lions are good. The Lions are really good. Don't sleep on the Lions. The Lions are really good. Right now, I have them pretty high. It's going to take a bit for them to move higher than where they are. They're a good team. Don't sleep on the Lions. What else do I really have to cover other than that? Who do they play this week? Vikings. That's very exciting for me because that leads to a very easy transition for me. On to number 13, the Minnesota Vikings. Now, Lions-Vikings, this whole week has some good games coming up. Lions-Vikings is going to be a divisional battle to watch. I have them at 12 and 13. We've seen ups and downs for both of these teams already in this season. And I'd really like to know who's better. I want to know who comes out the top dog in this game. And I mean, personally, I'm going to be picking the Lions. I like the Lions more. I think they're just a better team. Again, they put up 35, almost came back against those Eagles, and the Eagles are flawless as a roster as it stands. Jared Goff is proving why he still deserves to be an NFL quarterback, why he was drafted as high as he was all those years ago. And honestly, other than that, Vikings, on the other hand, the Vikings, they got embarrassed by the Eagles this week. They got embarrassed, and honestly, just basing my opinion off of how the Lions played against the Eagles, it's not going to look good for the Vikings this week. The Vikings have a lot to prove. They need to prepare for this game. The Lions better not underprepare. But the Vikings getting destroyed on Monday Night Football did not help their ranking, and it's why I have them moving down from number 7 to number 13. Also, I want to note, Lions jumped up from number 22 to number 12. Big jump. Big jump. But even more than that, Eagles jumped up from number 21 to 5. So, hey. Again, the Lions, after the Lions, Eagles played each other, I didn't know what to do with the two teams because I hadn't seen them play against anybody else, and they had a great game. So I kind of just put them 1 and 2. But I'm rooting for the Lions this year. I'm rooting for Dan Campbell. I'm rooting for Jared Goff. There's an underdog story brewing here, and there's a reason why they were on, what's it called? That TV show. You guys know what I'm talking about. Now I gotta look it up. Hard Knocks. There's a reason why the Detroit Lions were on Hard Knocks. And it's because they're an underdog. But they're more than just an underdog. They're good. They're a good team. They deserve to be at number 12. I don't know what's going to happen after this week, but as it stands right now, they deserve to be at number 12. And honestly, Lions-Vikings will be very, very telling for, what's coming next. At number 14, I have the Packers. I would more than love to put the Packers higher than number 14. You got to understand, Packers fans. I want the Packers to be good so bad. I grew up watching this team. I grew up rooting for them. I mean, the Dolphins were never that good through my whole life. Aaron Rodgers was always a guy I was there to root for. Tom Brady was always killing the Dolphins, keeping them out of the playoffs, keeping them down at the bottom rung in the league, and Aaron Rodgers was his counterpart. Aaron Rodgers and Drew Brees were always my two favorite quarterbacks to watch because, it's hard to root for the guy who is killing it in your division, a.k.a. Tom Brady. Now, I do got to say, this Packers team isn't what it was last year. But they're good. Their defense is good. There's a lot going for them. And they have a big game this week up against the Bucs. This is where they need to prove their salt. This is where they need to show that they deserve to be top 10 team. And if they don't, they're not going to move up. Right now I have them dropping down from number 13 to number 14 because they played the Bears this week, and a lot of other teams had a lot of other movement. Realistically, they kind of stood still for me, minus the fact that a few teams moved ahead of them, a few teams moved behind, more moved ahead, they moved behind. When you stand still in this league, you're falling. So, Packers dropped down from number 13 to 14. At number 15, I have New York Giants. Now, little controversial putting them at number 15. They haven't necessarily played against any teams that are, in the top 10, even in the top 15 for me right now. The two teams they played are in the bottom 20, but just the way that they play, the way Daniel Jones looks, Daniel Jones has proven his worth in this league. I've been saying it. I am in his corner. I'm not 100% sold on the guy, but does Daniel Jones have the talent to be a franchise quarterback? Yes. Does he have the coach backing him to be a franchise quarterback? Yes. Has he proved that he is a franchise quarterback? No. Does he still have time? Yes. And how's he done so far? Giants are 2-0. Giants are 2-0. They played against the Titans. The Titans were number 1 in the AFC last year. They're not the same team they were last year, but in a nail-biter, Daniel Jones came in the clutch. Same thing goes for this week. It was clutch time. Clutch time means a lot to these rankings. If you can pull it out in the clutch, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter if you are technically, on paper, the worst team. If you pull it out in the clutch, best man wins. Simple as that. It's the NFL. You know, you got to produce results. It doesn't matter how you look on paper. You got to produce results. Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, and Brian Dable, alongside that stud defense, they're doing it, and they're climbing up my rankings. They've jumped up from number 19 to number 15. Now, moving on to number 16. It's a shame to say this because I want Trey Lance to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He's got the talent for it. We saw him play fantastic at the end of last season. Don't know what happened in Game 1 of this year or what happened in the beginning of Game 2 this year. But seeing him go down with that injury is a very, very sad thing. But in a way, it could be the best thing that ever happened for his career. He might need one more year in the oven before he really turns up and shows everybody that he can be the guy to carry the torch for this 49ers franchise and bring them to the next thing. But right now, the best guy that the Niners can put on the field is Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, the fact that Jimmy Garoppolo is back out there by cause of an injury is a very sad thing to see. I would have rather Trey Lance just get replaced outright because of play. Obviously, I never want to see a guy get hurt in this league, especially by breaking an ankle. That's just, nobody roots for that. Nobody wants to see that. That's not what this league is. It's not what's supposed to happen. We don't want injuries. You know, it just hurts the product of this league. It's just devastating to the players, to the people, devastating to the fans. You know, I used to play football. I tore my ACL when I was 13 years old, and it was completely devastating for a lot of reasons, you know. And I gotta say, seeing that happen to Trey Lance, it's just a shame, man. It's a shame, and I'm even more upset that, you know, I almost predicted it. I kind of been saying that if they keep running the ball with him like this, if they keep using him like he's a fullback, something bad is going to happen, and it did. And I blame Kyle Shanahan. I'm sorry, I don't mean to point fingers at anybody, but you can't use your quarterback like a fullback. You can't. Quarterback draws should be banned from this league. We have a fullback for a reason. There's a reason why it's a position. You have one of the best of them. Use him. Slam him down the middle. I didn't watch the play where he got injured. I don't want to. I don't find joy from seeing anybody get hurt. And, you know, but I do have to say he was not doing especially well for the 49ers in the game and a half he played. And Jimmy Garoppolo has led them to a Super Bowl and, as of last year, an NFC championship, in which he lost, but he brought him there. That alone brings him back into the top 20. They were at number 25 last week. Jimmy G alone brings him back into the top 20. They beat the Seahawks this week. Nothing special, but they beat them by a lot. Which is enough to move them up into number 16. So yeah, 49ers at number 16. Now moving along here to number 17, we have the Dallas Cowboys. Now, that was a surprise. That's a surprise. Caps off to Cooper Rush. I didn't know his name as of 2 weeks ago. Didn't know his name, and he came out firing in his second start. I think it was his second start of his career. The Cowboys offensive coordinator did a great job game planning around him. He clearly has a very good relationship with that wide receiver, Noah Brown. pretty talented guy. And things worked for the Cowboys this week. They weren't an offensive powerhouse by any means, but their defense is. Their defense is a powerhouse, and if their offense can just keep them in the game, they can win games. I didn't really think they would be scoring points for a while, especially by any means other than Zeke. But no, Cooper Rush came in, Noah Brown came in, even CeeDee Lamb didn't have the worst game, and Cowboys move up from 24 to number 17. And on the back end of that, we got the Bengals. Bengals are experiencing a Super Bowl hangover. Should the Bengals be in the top 10? Yes. Yes. Roster-wise, everything, top to bottom, Bengals should be in the top 10. Right now, they're not playing like it, so right now they're not going to be in there. If they turn things around, they just competed for a Super Bowl, so who's to say that they can't again? But right now, they look like number 18, and it's why they've dropped down 10 slots for me, down to number 18. They need to turn this thing around, and they need to do it quick. I mean, hey, it's only week 2, moving on to week 3, but the Bengals can't play the way that they've played so far this season, or else they're going to be on the bottom rung of this league. I don't want to see that. I don't think anyone really wants to see the Bengals fail. They've always been, like a fan favorite. They're just a very well-loved team. They're cool. The Bengals are cool. They got cool uniforms. At the end of the day, they are a franchise. Joe Burrow, everyone wants to root for Joe Burrow. The kid is an athlete. The kid is a hard worker. He's got to play better. So does his team. That's the silver lining. And we all know they can be. That's really it. That's all there is to be mentioned about them. And football is all about showing up. And so far they haven't. They're 0-2. The Bengals are 0-2. Super Bowl hangover is real. Moving along to number 19, I have the Patriots. Now I do have the Patriots sliding up a little bit this week from number 23 to 19. They beat a weakened Steelers team by 3 points. Do they really deserve to slide up that 4 slots? Who's to really tell? But at the end of the day, we're in week 2. This is all a mess anyway. I don't think anybody expected the Jets. I don't think anyone expected Joe Flacco to throw 2 touchdowns in the final 80-something seconds of the fourth quarter to clutch it over the Browns. No one saw that coming. Nobody saw the Dolphins doing it. Football is such an unpredictable sport, We see teams struggle an entire game to put up 3 points and then turn around and put up a lot more than that. It's a weird sport. It's a game of chess. And the Patriots outplayed the Titans this week, and they do, at the end of the day, they have a good roster, and they have Bill Belichick backing them. And that is really where this ranking comes from. This week was a regrounding week. After getting exposed by the Dolphins in week 1, they needed to plant their feet back on the ground. And they did, and there's a lot of other teams behind them who are sliding because they can't do that right now. And they haven't been able to do that. That alone has helped them stick to number 19. Now, a little controversial for me personally. I struggled figuring out whether or not the Patriots or this following team should be, who should be ahead of who. But I was more comfortable putting the New York Jets at number 20 this week. New York Jets just jumped up from number 31 to number 20 because of a clutch performance by Joe Flacco. Who the heck heard that coming? What's there to be said? They do have a good roster, had a great draft, and things are gelling. They're another team after week 1, after getting punched in the mouth by the Ravens. They did prove slightly competent against the Ravens because they didn't let the Ravens walk all over them the way the Dolphins did in the first 3 quarters of that game. The Jets are a good team. And hey, I mean, honestly, it's going to take a lot for them to compete for a playoff spot this year. There's a lot of competition in the AFC. But they're better than the Browns. As it stands, they're better than the Browns. And their franchise looks like they might be turning things around. Beating the Browns is very exciting, and I'm excited to see Zach Wilson come back in, make another start, see how he's done through this offseason. The kid's got all the talent in the world. And he's been playing behind Joe Flacco. Having a guy like Joe Flacco in your ear, a veteran leader like Joe Flacco, that means a lot for a young kid like Zach Wilson, who needs it. So, moving along here to the team that the Jets had just beat, we have the Browns falling from number 15 to number 21. The Browns are one of the teams in the bottom half of this league that right now they're sitting in the bottom half. But I mean, when certain players come back from injuries, they're a Super Bowl contender. As long as this roster can hold it together and enough for them to make the playoffs, not even from injuries, when certain players reappear on this roster, on this lineup, they're deadly. They're scary. They become one of the best teams, and they have a fantastic roster. I mean, Jacoby Brissett is not going to be the guy to win them games. He's not. If Nick Chubb takes a knee instead of running into the end zone at the end of, the fourth quarter of that game, they win that game. But at the end of the day, you got to be clutch. In the NFL, you got to be clutch. They didn't clutch. They didn't pull it off. They lost to the Jets 30-31. That's the league, and like I keep repeating, best man wins. That's how it goes. It doesn't matter how it looks on paper. Now, right behind the Browns at number 22, I have the Panthers. Now, the Panthers are another team I really, really want to root for. They lost to the Giants this week. It was a nail-biter. But they ultimately did lose. Losing doesn't help on these rankings. They're down at number 2. They've fallen 4 slots. Not much else to be said. I would honestly say from like 17 to number 32 is completely up in the air right now. Any one of these teams can beat, anyone can win out of any of those teams if they all played each other. As the weeks progress, it'll be a lot easier to justify the rankings of them, but I would say I'm extremely comfortable keeping the Panthers at number 22. The Browns proved that they were better than them. The Jets proved that they were better than the Browns. It's about what you prove on the field. This week, Panthers lost again. They're 0-2. They're sitting at number 22. Number 23, the Falcons. The Falcons are 0-2. The Falcons have had a decently hard schedule coming out the gate. The Falcons have done pretty good against their decently hard schedule. In week 1, the Saints had a nice fourth quarter comeback, pulled it out against them. They lost by 1 point to the Saints, who I have sitting at number 11. Now, this week, they lost to the Rams by 4 points. The team that I had at number 2 in week 1, they lost by 4 points. It's moved them out of that bottom 7 tier I was talking about last week. They might be 0-2. But if they start winning games here, they're going to move quick. They're going to be a climber. They have been climbing. They're not a horrible, horrible team, and they don't deserve to be on the back end of this league or back end of this ranking. Nothing else to be said. I don't know who they're playing this week, but I will be checking in on it. Falcons Seahawks. Another game. They're going to probably win that. If they don't win, they fall right back down. But I am very well projecting them to win that game. Sadly, winning that game doesn't do a whole lot for their ranking. Losing does. It's not really good. But as long as they win, if they blow them out, then that'll help them out. If they blow them out, they probably move in the top 20 at the very least. Maybe top 15, depends on how bad of a blowout is. But we'll see. Right now, it's hard to judge them because they played against two really good teams and lost by not very much, but they are 0-2. Besides the Bengals, the Falcons I probably have the most hope for as an 0-2 team. And the Panthers. The Panthers are a pretty damn good 0-2 team too, but honestly, I like the Falcons more. But as it stands, truth be told, Falcons, roster-wise, on paper, are a step behind the Panthers. And again, both teams are 0-2. So, the Falcons jump up for 4 spots from number 27 to number 23. Number 24 is heartbreaking for me because this team was my number 3 team going into week 1. Now we're going into week 3 and they're at number 24. I have the Denver Broncos. They got to prove that they're worth their salt here. I mean, yeah, they beat the Texans by 1 score. They lost to the Seahawks. Right now, I mean, if the Broncos would have won by even, if it was not a 1, they won by 8 points. If they would have won by 9 points, that would have been enough justification. Be at least a little higher than where they are right now. I know that's nitpicking. Right now, all they're proving is that they deserve to be in this bottom bunch. That's all they've done. And, I mean, like the 49ers played the Seahawks this week. At least they blew them out. That moved them up. The Broncos won by 8 points. It was kind of disappointing. They should have put up points. They should have put up more points. This offense should be blowing out teams like the Seahawks and the Texans. They've had an easy schedule coming into this year. They're 1-1, and they're +7 right now. In score differential as a team, I don't even know if that's right, honestly. I don't think I'm right about that. Ignore that I said that. But the Broncos have fallen from grace. Now again, they're another team, bottom end of this league, that could be a Super Bowl contender when everything's said and done. Right now they're at 24 because they deserve to be at 24. How they've played, they deserve it. That's all there's to be said about them. Now, number 25 is the Titans. Titans are 0-2. Week 1 they lost to the Giants. Week 2 they got the life stolen from their souls. They were destroyed by the Bills. They were embarrassed by the Bills. Derrick Henry in the first quarter was their only touchdown of that game. I expected the Titans to fall a little bit after last year. Not by this much. They got to play better. That's it. That's the bottom line. They got to be better. Moving on, number 26, Steelers. Last week I had the Steelers at 14. I would have had them higher if TJ Watt didn't get hurt. Now, after this week, after seeing them play against the Patriots, a team I thought they could have beat without TJ Watt, they didn't win without TJ Watt. We just learned how much TJ Watt means to this team because they probably wouldn't have let the Patriots score if TJ Watt was on that field. The Steelers are TJ Watt's team. They need TJ Watt to win. Right now they don't have TJ Watt. Right now they're at 26. Simple as that. Commanders, Jaguars, 2 more teams I don't know how to rank because I haven't seen them play against enough high-powered talent. Jaguars blow out the Colts. Colts aren't good. I'm sorry. I wanted the Colts to be really good this year, but they're not. Not as of their first 2 weeks. But yeah, I still have the Jaguars at 28, and I still have the Commanders at 27. I need to see them play against good teams. That's the only way I'm going to be able to judge whether or not they really where they should be. But for now, I mean, it's going to take. That's all it can do to really move them out of the, bottom 8 of this team. Falcons played against two really good teams. They didn't win, but they played really well. It was enough to move them out. So far, Commanders, Jaguars, they got to play somebody. This week, Commanders play the Eagles, so they got a lot to prove. They're probably going to get smacked. Probably going to stay relatively close to where they are unless they at least make it a close game. On the other hand, Jaguars, did the bye start this week? I think the byes start this week. I don't see the Jaguars playing. I guess the Jaguars are... Oh, no, what am I saying? Jaguars, Chargers, wow. Both of these teams have a lot to prove this week. Jaguars play the Chargers. I'm not hopeful for the Jaguars this week. Only thing to be said there. That's ugly. That's going to be an ugly loss. If they can keep that close, I give them credit. They're going to jump up. Keep it nice and simple. Moving down to number 29 are the Indianapolis Colts. Week 1, they tied the Texans. Week 2, they got blown out by the Jags. So, as it should be, they're below the Jags. And they're just about neck and neck with the Texans. Because, might have a fantastic running back. This roster is good, but I don't know. I just think it's got to be the coach. I think Frank Reich might be the problem. I don't know anymore. Everybody blamed Carson Wentz last year. Frank Reich's probably going to get all the blame this year alongside Matt Ryan. I don't know what their problem is. But they're at number 29. They need to step it up. They haven't. They've had an easy schedule, and they have played horribly, and that has brought them down to the bottom 8. Number 31 is the Bears. Aaron Rodgers still owns the Bears. I love that quote. It still owns the Bears. Aaron Rodgers owns the Bears. Bears are not perfect. They beat the 49ers. 49ers had Trey Lance at quarterback. Justin Fields looked better than Trey Lance in that game. But now 49ers have Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback, and the Bears still have Justin Fields. At least the Bears are kind of getting to a point where you're starting to see... I didn't think we would see it this year, but we are starting to see the rebuild putting things together. I don't know how much I stand behind their head coaching hire this year. He might be fired at the end of the year. Depends on how their record looks at the end of the day. Right now they're at 31. Simple as that. Seattle Seahawks, 39. They were at 29 after beating the Broncos. The Broncos are now down at 24. And the Seahawks lost to the 49ers. They got blown out. Honestly, again, these bottom 7 teams are hard to rank. I need to see them do good against good teams before they move up. Now the Steelers, without T.J. Watt, are in that conversation. Same thing with the Titans. Anybody who's below number 20, I really need to see them beat somebody good for them to jump up. I thought the Browns were good this year. Jets beat them, they jumped up. The Seahawks got to do better. Seahawks, who do they play this week? I don't think they have a crazy... Seahawks, Falcons. Well, that's going to be exciting. I'm rooting for the Falcons. I'm sorry, Seahawks fans. It'd be nice to see you guys win. It would be awesome to see Geno Smith pull something out, but I think the Falcons have that on lock. And I don't know if it's going to be close. But hey, the Seahawks can always surprise, and it's the NFL. Best man wins, right? Other than that, that's going to conclude my ranking for this week. I'm sorry it gets a little depressing once we make it into, I would say once we get to 24, it gets pretty sad. But hey, all those teams got promise. They really do. The only teams I'm really, only team I'm down and out on, I think can only really get worse as things go along are the Titans. I love Kevin Byard. Kevin Byard's a great player. I'd like to see him win. Same with Derrick Henry. Ryan Tannehill can go kick rocks because look, dude's accurate, but he's not helping nobody win games, and he's been in this league for a long time, and that I'm not going to share my opinion on him as a quarterback. As a man, a completely different story. I don't really know the man, but as a quarterback in the NFL, not my favorite. Same with the Titans. But hey, we have a great week of football coming ahead of us. Stay tuned. I am going to be coming out with my weekly pick'em relatively soon as humanly possible. Not tonight, but soon. Other than that, have a good one, ladies and gentlemen.